Alright, what's going on, everybody? Fear No Hate here, back to bring you guys a review for Avengers Endgame. This is the culmination, as everybody keeps saying, as I keep hearing everybody say, this is the culmination of what, 10, 11 years of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This review is going to be spoiler free. I hope to do in the next few weeks, hopefully, a review discussion with one of my friends. I'm gonna do a full-on review discussion, or spoiler discussion, I should say, on this film. And for this movie review, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna keep it spoiler free. I'm not gonna go into detail with anything. I'm gonna try to be as vague as possible. Keep in mind, this is a 3 hour movie. This is like a 3 hour and what, like 3 hour and like 5 minutes or whatever movie, and it's kind of hard to be vague. It's kind of hard to do a review and be vague, and then try to be critical, but at the same time not give away too much. So I hope this review is helpful for some people, and I hope that y'all enjoy listening. And like I said, just look out for the spoiler cast, the spoiler discussion video. That's probably gonna be a lot longer, and in that video, I'll be able to really address a lot more of the stuff that I didn't really get a chance to really address in this video. So with that being said, so here are just a few of the things, because I don't really have a lot negative to really say about this movie. I was trying to like sit here and think for about an hour before I hit record, just to just to sit here and try to think of anything bad about this movie, and I honestly can't really think of too much bad about this movie. I mean, honestly, the only thing I can really say is that, okay, in the final act, so like in the final act of this movie, it's basically what DC has been trying to pull off for years, but they've seemed to fail, time and time again. With DC and their final acts, that third act is always this big CGI battle. And sure, you can say, I guess you can say that there's a large abundance, there's an overabundance of CG in this movie, the special effects and everything. But then how else are they going to depict a battle on such a large scale? Like, you've seen big battles and big wars on screen before, but when I say that final act, I feel like they outdid the last movie. They outdid Infinity War with this movie. And honestly, I said this coming home from the last Avengers movie. I said that the last Avengers movie was basically two films. It was basically two films in one. Yeah, we got two directors, the same directors, Anthony and Joe Russo. We got those same directors, and with that last movie, it felt like two different movies. And that's not to say that that was a bad thing, but it felt like two different movies. And what was so cool is that those two different movies, they didn't really conflict with each other. Like they had, you had Tony Stark and you had Captain America and all these other people in these two different locations, but the movie didn't feel like a hodgepodge of different scenes, coming in together to form one big movie. With this movie being 3 hours, it is a testament to the writers, is a testament to the directors, everybody involved, that this movie wasn't a big giant mess. Because we've seen 3 hour movies. Like, I've seen the extended cut of Batman versus Superman that's like 3 hours. And honestly, that movie does not need to be 3 hours. It didn't need to be even like 2 hours and 30 minutes or however long that movie was. But this movie, when I say that they take every minute, they take advantage of every minute, of every second that Disney has allowed for them. Because with a lot of these big budget films, what they like to do, they like to cut a lot of stuff. Like, there was actually stuff cut in Infinity War, because essentially Infinity War was actually supposed to have more stuff surrounding Thanos. That was Thanos, and a lot of people say this, that Infinity War was Thanos' movie, and there was supposed to be a lot more Thanos stuff here. But I feel like in this movie they didn't cut anything. And when I say that this movie is almost perfect, I would dare say that it is perfect, but there's probably things that you can kind of nitpick here and there. But like I said, I can't really think of too much bad, for me personally that I saw in the movie. I thought it was paced very well. Although I have heard some people complain that the beginning was very slow, but I feel like the slower pace was kind of needed to kind of set everything up and get these characters where they need to be. And to be honest, something that I can appreciate is that I've heard all the fan theories and all the different videos people have made on how this movie's gonna play out, and I even had some ideas in my head. And to be honest, I like the fact that the movie didn't start off. Like, I like the fact that the movie didn't start out, guns blazing. It wasn't this fast movie at first. It wasn't a lot of action at first, and I can appreciate that. Like, you really have to just sit there and watch these characters and just soak up everything at first, because don't worry, if you went to this movie for action, there is so much action in there, but there's also character moments and character drama and stuff. And Disney and Kevin Feige and everything, they know what they're doing. And I think that when it comes to the actors and the acting in general, when it comes to the performances, I think that's what has really helped Marvel. I really think that has really kind of helped separate a MCU movie from a Fox Marvel movie or a Sony Marvel movie or even a DC movie. Because one thing I can say about this movie, the performances across the board were great, with the exception of Brie Larson. I'll even give the chick that plays Valkyrie, Tessa Thompson. You know, if I had to choose between her and Brie Larson, Brie Larson did a terrible job as Captain Marvel in this movie, and I didn't like her standalone film either. But to be fair, and I don't know if some of you guys might not even know this, but this movie was actually the first time that Brie Larson was playing Captain Marvel, since this movie was actually shot before her standalone film. So this was actually shot before Captain Marvel was shot. But sadly, she was more wooden than Groot in this movie. Like, she was lifeless. I don't know how else to explain it. There were several different chances where there were several different scenes where Brie Larson could have ejected some life into her character, especially in a climax where she's interacting with a particular character, but she just fails to deliver. I don't know how anybody can say that she's a great actor. People talk about, oh, she's an Oscar award winner or Academy Award winner or whatever. I don't care. In these movies, she's doing a terrible job so far. And I don't even have a problem with the Captain Marvel character itself. It's just the way that they've introduced this character. But I appreciated the fact, and I like this. I appreciated the fact that they used Captain Marvel so sparingly. Like, she was barely, like, if you were somebody that wasn't really a fan of Captain Marvel, then good news for you, because she's kind of like barely in the movie. And I like the fact that they used her so sparingly, because she's very overpowered. She's very OP. She's like Superman. She's essentially the Superman of the MCU. So you had to use her the way that they used her in this movie. But other than Brie Larson's lifeless performance, everyone else in this cast, everyone else in this movie, they did a great job in their roles. And even some people that I didn't really like. There's even some actors that their characters, they weren't my favorites, or they weren't characters that I was like, oh, like, I go to these movies to actually see these characters, but they actually surprised me with some of these. This might have been Robert Downey Jr.'s best performance as Tony Stark, in my opinion. One of my favorite scenes with Tony, it happens very early on in the movie. Don't worry, I'm not going to spoil it. It just shows how exhausted and how defeated he's become. And then later on in the movie, we actually see kind of a different side to Tony Stark. And then we also, one thing I also gotta say, my boy Captain America, Chris Evans did a great job playing Captain America. But only this time around, like Captain America is usually all about hope. He's usually all about hope, but he's less hopeful this time around, which makes sense given the common, given the situation that they're in. He's less hopeful, and he's actually like he's really struggling. Like Captain America and Scarlett Johansson's character, Black Widow, they're both really struggling to kind of like keep everybody together, just like keep going along, keep living. They're really struggling, and they even show that in the trailers. And I was surprised just how much I enjoyed Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner in this one. This time around, I really enjoyed him. And I haven't been the biggest fan of his version of Bruce Banner. I actually liked. I don't know if some people didn't really like what's his name, the guy that used to be Bruce Banner before he was Bruce Banner. I can't even think of the guy's name. Edward Norton. Yeah, that's the guy's name. I like Edward Norton a lot. I like this version, but I actually like this version of Bruce Banner this time. This new interpretation of the character was really great. It's really cool to see what they did with the Hulk, and I'm sure that what it is, it's going to surprise a lot of people. Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye turned Ronin. That was another unexpected highlight for me. The first few minutes of this film is very effective at really making his sudden descent into darkness very, very believable. Those first few minutes, the opening scene, very effective, very powerful, very sad opening scene. But as always, I think one thing that has really kind of helped people to really engage with these movies and really kind of attach themselves to these characters, and just one reason why people really enjoy themselves at these movies is because of the humor. The humor was so on point in this movie. As always, the writers did a great job with the character interactions, and the directors, they did a great job balancing the lightheartedness that we come to expect from the MCU with the more darker tone that we have this time around. Given the fact that Thanos snapped everybody out of existence, or snapped half of existence, I should say. He snapped half of the world out of existence. It is clear this time around, though. It's clear the amount of time, effort, love, and care that just went into writing, and just into the writing and planning of this movie. Like, I was just sitting back there just watching as I was watching like the final scenes and everything, and especially that climax. I'm like, just how much money did y'all put into this? Just how much effort did they put into this? I don't think we're ever going to see a movie that is this big ever again, unless it comes from Marvel Studios and Disney. There are so many callbacks and so many payoffs to dialogue, to just dialogue and events that happen in other movies. And if you have been to like every single Marvel film, you're definitely going to get a kick out of a lot of these references. I freaking love these references. And even if you don't even understand those references, it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, it went over your head and now you're like you're lost. Don't worry if you're not a super fan, because it's not gonna affect you. It's not really gonna affect you. It's not gonna affect your enjoyment of the movie. But if you've seen all of the movies, then these payoffs, these callbacks, they're just gonna get to you. I appreciate just how self-aware that this movie is, and just how self-aware the characters are, especially Josh Brolin's Thanos. He remains the MCU's best villain, and he remains consistent. When it comes to Thanos' ideals, even when the Avengers are just trying their best to basically repair the damage that he caused. And like I said, there really isn't much I can really say bad about this movie. I mean, honestly, for me, this is probably a 10 out of 10. I mean, I wouldn't say like overall. I think it's the best superhero movie that we've had in this decade. Like if The Dark Knight was like the best movie in the last decade, then the best superhero movie in this decade would have to be this movie, Avengers Endgame. It would have to be this. I can't put it above Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight because like The Dark Knight was trying to do its own thing. It was more of a crime movie, while this is more of a superhero movie. It does have different elements in there, but I can say that it stands kind of shoulder to shoulder with that movie. It's very good. Yeah, but that's pretty much all I gotta say. Like I said, just be on the lookout for the spoiler cast, spoiler discussion video that I'm gonna do hopefully in a few weeks with one of my friends. We're gonna be doing that. Like the video. Like the video, subscribe if you enjoyed listening. I didn't really want this video to be very long, but about 15 minutes is pretty decent, I guess. Thank you guys for listening. Like the video, subscribe. I'm out of here. This has been Fear No Hate. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.